Here is the question. What will separate tomorrow's leaders from everyone else? It's not going to be their title. It's not going to be your use of technology. And it's not going to be your position. The leaders who thrive in the 21st century, it's going to be those who can adapt without losing their values, innovate without losing our humanity, and lead through complexity without losing our purpose. I'm excited for the conversation that we're about to have. Come on, let's get into it. Welcome to Transformation Station Leadership Podcast, where leaders like you and I grow with clarity and resilience and purpose. I'm your host, Adrienne Benton, and today's conversation focuses on a critical leadership question. Here's the question. What does it take to forge 21st century leaders? Now, listen, we have an amazing guest who's with us today, but before you have a chance to meet him, I want to share a few things with you. A reminder. So here in our community, we get together once a month. We have the Lead Her Shift webinar. We have our next webinar coming up on July 19th, and our special guest is Christine Valdez. And look at the topic. We're talking about leading without lowering your standards. Now, this is a classic evergreen conversation, so I'm inviting you to go ahead right now. Click on the link that you see in the description box so you can register. And as always, I want to remind you not to come by yourself. So that means that you need to share this link with a minimum of 5 leaders in your network. Bring them with you so that we can have a healthy conversation about not lowering our standards and leading forward with courage. I also want to remind you that your copy of A Greater Force Than Failure, Intentional Time with God, it's waiting for you. It's waiting for you on Amazon.com. This is a self-guided journal for anyone who has ever made a mistake. That's you and I, because we all have. If you've ever made a mistake and ever find yourself saying, you know what, how do I move forward? Well, this journal is going to give you 4-step process to moving forward well. So A Greater Force Than Failure, Intentional Time with God. Be sure to pick up your copy, Kindle or paperback, on Amazon.com. Well, it's time for us to get into this conversation today. I want to tell you about our guest. His name is Grant Harris. Grant Harris is a globally recognized neuro-inclusive performance strategist and speaker who shifts organizations from friction to flow by fixing their process, not their people, so they can save time, keep talent, and deliver value by redesigning how work gets done at scale. Grant is the founder and the president of GTH Consulting, a minority and disability-owned consultancy working within complex organizations. His experience spans federal agencies and higher education and global enterprises and nonprofit systems where execution, accountability, and scale matter. We are excited to have the expert with us today. I want to say welcome, Grant, to Transformation Station Leadership Podcast.
Awesome. Glad to be here. That was an excellent intro. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, we're glad you're here. So, Grant, as I was preparing for this session, I was thinking to myself about what we're talking about today. And here are some of the thoughts that I have, right? One, I was thinking that many times when people think about leadership, they think about influence. And I've learned over the years that the context in which we operate, it changes dramatically throughout the years. Today's leaders have to navigate uncertainty. We got to build trust across differences. We got to embrace continuous learning. So, we talk about the future belonging to leaders who can learn and adapt and develop. So I want to start off with this question. When you think about 21st century leadership, what qualities or what capabilities do you find are most essential for leaders to develop today?
Awesome question. And I want to start by saying that the future of leadership is human centered performance.
Mm.
Human-centered performance. So leaders need to stop assuming that every performance issue or challenge
Mm-hmm.
is a people issue or challenge. Sometimes the real problem is unclear expectations, broken
Mm.
handoffs, poor
Mm.
communication norms, these
Mm-hmm.
hidden unwritten rules, or ultimately systems that only reward one type of thinking.
I see.
So the future is human-centered performance.
Mm.
You mentioned qualities.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, when and I thought about this for some time. The biggest quality in this time of artificial intelligence, in this time of this tug of war of human versus machine, the most essential capability, in my opinion, is discernment, judgment,
Mm-hmm.
the ability to tell the difference between a people problem and a
Mm.
problem.
Okay. Okay.
Adaptability is important. Emotional intelligence, clarity, humility, these things are extremely important. But leaders need to also understand how the systems shape the behavior of the people that they are leading. So
Mm.
discernment and judgment, I think, is the most essential quality
Mm-hmm.
for 21st century leadership.
All right. So, leaders, you're listening, you're watching. Here on Transformation Station, we always take a moment to pause and to reflect on what we're hearing. You heard the question, what is most essential for leaders to develop today? We're inviting you right now to put in the chat. Number one, what is resonating with you from what Grant has already started to share with us? And then two, how would you answer that question? What do you believe or what have you experienced right now to be essential for leaders to develop today? We want to hear from you. So, Grant, let me ask you this question, right? How can leaders balance timeless leadership principles like trust and integrity? How can we balance that with fast changing demands? You mentioned AI, right? So, the fast changing demands of technology and innovation and global complexity. How do we balance this?
Mm, balance. That reminds me of my daughter. She's in gymnastics and she does this balance beam exercise and she hops across the balance beam. She's 5, and
Hmm.
leaders are doing the same thing.
Yes.
Leaders are hopping on this balance beam and trying to get from one end to the other, complete and whole. But
Mm,
the difference between my daughter and the leaders is nobody's following my daughter. It's just her. Leaders
mm,
have people following them.
mm,
So trust is essential. Trust
mm,
still matters, but that
mhm,
trust and that integrity needs to be operationalized. So in these
mm,
complex environments that we talk about, whether domestic or global, trust shows up with clear expectations, fair
mm,
decision making, consistent communication. Now,
mhm,
communication is something that we're all working on. It's never going to be 100%. It's never going to be A plus. Consistently better over time. And last but not least, accessible systems. So technology changes very speak, which is all the more reason people need clarity.
yes.
Technology may change how the work moves, but leaders
Mhm,
make sure that people understand not only what matters, but
mm,
who owns what. I like to say who does what by when. That's extremely clear and
yeah.
holds leaders accountable because then now the people behind them on that balance beam know how decisions get made and who owns them.
Mm. You have mentioned so many pivotal keywords, right? Clarity. I think of Brene Brown, who says clarity is kindness. Mm, yeah. Trust. So important. One of the phrases that I keep hearing nowadays is psychological safety. And psychological safety is when leaders build that culture, a culture
Mhm,
of
mhm,
trust and authenticity and awareness and presence, which then takes me to, when you were talking and you were saying all of these pivotal words, I kept thinking about values, right?
mm,
Values, when they're alive and living and being practiced, they provide stability when circumstances are changing. And
mm,
so, leaders, Grant and I are inviting you to evaluate, right? Evaluate every new initiative, technology, strategy through the lens of stability that Grant mentioned, like your values and authenticity and trust, right? Before you start pushing off and trying to implement the next thing, just stop and take some time to reflect and evaluate. So, Grant, adaptability, you mentioned emotional intelligence. What role does adaptability, emotional intelligence, and continuous learning, what role does that play in shaping leaders who can thrive, not just survive, but who can
Mm.
thrive in today's environment?
Well, continuous learning is extremely important to me because of the way that my brain operates.
Mhm,
I'm a late diagnosed autistic person.
mhm,
And the way my brain operates is I love to absorb information. The more I can learn, the better. I'm full of these, what I like to call interesting facts. I'm not too sure that my family or people around me think they're so interesting, but
mhm,
I do. But when we talk about continuous learning, what role does that play? Adaptability, emotional intelligence, they all matter, but they can't stay abstract. They
mhm,
have to be practical. So, adaptability means leaders need to adjust systems, not just expect people to adjust themselves. Uh, Emotional intelligence, that's a big umbrella term, but that, in my view, is about noticing when someone is being misread, when talent is being misunderstood or misjudged. That,
mhm,
in my world. And then continuous learning, being willing to question, ask yourself reflective questions as a leader, and then ask collective questions as the habits of the organization. Are they
mhm,
still these legacy systems, these legacy traits? Are they still working?
mhm,
As I mentioned, as a late diagnosed autistic person, I personally know what it feels like and looks like to be misread
mhm,
in systems that weren't really designed for the way that I show up. And that
mhm,
extrapolates to other people as well. And I
mhm,
use that lens as proof and evidence that
mhm.
leadership systems have to be designed for more than one way of thinking and being.
Mm. So I'm going to ask you to stay right there for a moment and take us a little bit deeper. Like talk to leaders right now about why this is so important.
So this isn't generic DEI. This isn't generic neurodiversity awareness. Just
Mhm.
because you're aware doesn't mean you care as a
Right.
leader. And I'm a poet and I didn't know it. So I made
Mhm.
a rhyme.
Mhm.
Awareness is one thing, but this is about application. This work
Mhm.
is about action. None of this is going to be perfect, and it shouldn't be. It should be progressive. There should be incremental uh, progress and change, and that should be the consistency. And that's the adaptability. The adaptability comes from leaders understanding that they are people too, and they
Mm.
think differently too, and they show up differently too. Not just the people that they are leading, not
Mhm.
just Sally, not just Joe in the corner, but the leader themselves. And if the
Mhm.
leader can display and practice and implement and operationalize adaptability, emotional intelligence, these umbrella terms that we've been using,
Mhm.
then the people that they are leading will see that.
Yes.
And that is that proverbial open door policy. And the open
Mhm.
door policy for me is not a physical door. That's
Mhm.
the minimum. The open
Mm.
door policy is the open mind policy, the
Mhm.
open practice policy.
Mhm.
So that's where this emotional intelligence and adaptability and continuous learning come into play for me, and especially how I particularly show up as an autistic person.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And the open mind. Leaders, we are called every day to have open mind. And you tapped on something that I talk to my staff about all the time. But we always say in our office, we're not called to be perfect, but we are called to be progressive, right? That goes into the continuous learning. And I heard someone recently say adaptability helps us as leaders to navigate change. Emotional intelligence helps us to navigate people, and continuous learning helps us to navigate the future. Leaders, you are navigators. And so Grant and I are inviting you and encouraging you to use these capabilities to lay a stable foundation for sustainable leadership. We don't want to just be leaders for right now. We want to be leaders that leave a legacy, but leaving a legacy is not standing up and telling people, hey, I'm great, I led you, we accomplished. No, it's you living life on purpose, having a sure foundation where Grant talked about we model leadership, where your team can see and follow your example and put it into practice. And, Grant, you reminded me that leadership growth requires self-awareness and flexibility. Nobody's perfect, but we all called to be progressive and keep on learning. So, from what you've seen over the years, Grant, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges that organizations face in preparing the next generation of leaders, and how can they proactively address
Well, there's lots of those, and you said navigators. You called leaders to be navigators. That's hopefully my next car. I'm car shopping at the moment, and that's on my short list, the navigator. So we'll see if I can get there.
Yes.
Challenges. So most business schools, most certification programs, most training cohorts within organizations still prepare leaders to manage performance. But what they don't prepare leaders to is to examine the conditions around the performance. That's the harder part. That's the challenge. So you get all this training on feedback, communication, accountability, whatever that means to certain people. But you don't get that same type of training on role clarity. Like who's doing what on handoffs? How do I hand off this project, this initiative to the next person or the next team so that they can pick up the baton? Decision consistency, the decision tree, who's in the decision, how are the decisions made? Meetings. We could have this whole nother podcast, and I'm not inviting myself back, but we could have a whole nother podcast on meeting design. How are meetings set up and how are they run? And also these hidden norms, which hidden norms is the big umbrella that all these kind of things lead into. So we keep asking leaders, I say we, but society, the systems within organizations keep asking leaders to make better people decisions, but they don't give them a better process to do so. And then ultimately, people, employees, workers are the ones that are burned out, the ones that are left out and ultimately pushed out. So that's some of the challenges I see with preparing the next generation of leaders.
So leaders, we are asking you, what are some of the challenges that you see today? What are some of the challenges that you have seen? And then we also, Grant and I want to hear from you. How are you proactively addressing some of the challenges that you see? How are you addressing ways in which we can grow the next generation of leaders? We want to remind ourselves that, every leader should have a mentor. Every leader should look to be a mentor. And so we want to encourage you, if you don't have a mentor, get a mentor. Like there's so many ways nowadays to do it. It could be somebody that's right around you in your community. You can look online, you got LinkedIn, you got all these places. Find somebody that's doing what you're trying to do and communicate, ask questions. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. But don't keep the goodness to yourself. You also need to look to see who you can pull forward, who you can share, who you can mentor, who can, as they encounter you, who can emerge as a leader themselves. So Grant, as we turn the corner on this amazing conversation, and we are going to have you back again. I just want you to know that. Okay. I'm asking you to sow into this community here. Right. I want you to talk to the leaders that are listening, that are watching right now, and they're like, okay, I get it. I get it. I need to strengthen myself. I need to strengthen other leaders. I need to develop more adaptability. I need to make sure that I steer myself as a continuous learner. I'm asking you right now to take a moment and just talk to us. Give us some advice. Give some advice
Mm.
to emerging leaders who want to remain relevant and impactful in the future.
Oh, one, I appreciate the early invite back. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
You say emerging, and I know your show has a focus on emerging leaders, but this is for all leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, I'm going to say this out loud, but in my opinion, no matter how much tenure you have as a leader, the best leaders always see themselves as emerging leaders because
Yes.
it's never done. That wasn't my ultimate point, but that is one point.
I love
So
it.
all leaders are emerging, or they should be thinking of themselves that way.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but this piece of advice is don't confuse comfort with capability.
Mercy.
Don't confuse comfort with capability.
Mm,
So what that means is the people or the employees or the other leaders who communicate like you, who think like you, who move at your speed,
mm,
those are not automatically the people that are the strongest performers.
mm-hmm.
So simply because they think, speak, and act like you, that just makes them easier to read. That
Correct.
doesn't mean that they are a better performer. So
Mm-hmm.
before you bring out all the labels, you bring out your label maker,
Mm-hmm.
and you start labeling someone difficult or disengaged or not ready, not promotable.
Mm,
Don't stop inspecting them and start inspecting the process around them.
mm,
So that one habit can change how an emerging leader
mm-hmm.
gets to be a tenured leader.
Mm. Boom. Love it. Leaders, I need you right now to go ahead in the comment section and respond back to the wisdom that we have received. I'm feeling inspired right now, and I have no doubt that our audience is feeling inspired as well. Grant, I want to thank you so much for sewing into our leadership community today. I want to thank you for the pearls and the gems and the wisdom. So I know, being a shut up a doubt, that there are leaders that are listening and watching that absolutely want to know more. They want to find out more. What's the best way for our community to be able to engage with you and your resources?
Yeah, LinkedIn is where to find me. LinkedIn is my home.
Mm-hmm.
So I am there. I post regularly, I comment regularly, have conversations regularly. These conversations, these podcasts will be there. So LinkedIn, Grant Harris, and the number 5 is where to get me. That'll also be in the show notes. And if this message resonates with any of you out there, I work specifically with HR, L&D, and people leaders to bring a human-centered performance to keynotes, leadership sessions, ERGs. I'll be doing having two ERG conversations here coming up shortly, and manager effectiveness conversations. And the goal is simple: to help leaders fix the process before they misread the person.
Mercy. Listen, I need everybody snap, snap, snap. But also, I need you to reach out. Like, you see the link in the comment section. You know that we always like to support our guests. And so I'm inviting everybody to click on the link. I'm inviting you to go ahead to LinkedIn, connect with Grant. Let him know that you saw, that you heard this podcast. Share with him what resonated with you, and then also tap into the resources, right? He's available to come be a keynote speaker and all these things. Tap into that, because we know the community that continues to learn together grows together. Grant, thank you so much again.
Oh, thank you. I can't snap. I'm working on it. I'm only perfect 6 days a week, but I get you. I'm good with the snaps. Yeah. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you so much. It's been great to have you with us today.
Awesome. Thank you.
Wow, what an amazing conversation we had today. You know, today's conversation with Grant reminded me that leadership is not a destination, it's a continual process of growth and adaptation and service. I know that this episode encouraged you. So I'm inviting you to take one intentional step this week to strengthen a leadership capability that will prepare you for the future. Whether it's improving emotional intelligence or developing your adaptability or investing in someone else's growth, remember, every step matters. So be sure to subscribe to Transformation Station Leadership Podcast. Share this episode with 5, I like the number 5, with 5 leaders in your network, leaders who are preparing themselves and others for the future. So until next time, remember, the future is not built by leaders who resist change. It's built by leaders like you and I who embrace growth while remaining anchored in our purpose.